Well, another Sunday is in the books. All that remains of this Week 8 is Monday night's San Francisco-Arizona game. Hope you had a better Sunday than I did. I had an absolutely disastrous day. Lost all 3 of my bets. That's 2 losing weekends in a row and drops my overall record to below 500 for the first time all year. So, guess I have to reevaluate my opinions on some of these teams, but I'm not going to start hanging my head just yet. Not in Week 8. Long season. I'm sure there'll be plenty of winning weekends ahead, hopefully starting this weekend. Do want to go through a few of these games that took place today, starting with my disaster of a day. It's what I get for backing Philadelphia and Dallas, 2 unreliable teams. You know, I made the mistake. I fell into the trap of thinking these teams were going to play better than they've played so far this season. Obviously, coming into the day, Philadelphia and Dallas both sitting at 3-3, playing teams with much better records. Philadelphia playing the undefeated Atlanta Falcons, Dallas playing the 5-2 New York Giants. But I thought situationally it was a good spot for both teams, both playing at home, both desperate for the win. And again, I made the mistake of not letting the first 6 games that we've seen dictate my opinion of these teams. Instead, my opinion, I guess, was still colored by what I thought of these teams heading into the season. And I wasn't alone, because Philadelphia was still treated as a good team in the betting marketplace. And mark my words, unless they go on some winning streak and it changes towards the end of the year, this is the last time in a while you'll see Philadelphia treated like a good team by the odds makers. And if you dispute they were treated like a good team, they were favored today over the last undefeated team in the league. I realized they were at home, but they were favored over the last undefeated team in the league. So they were still getting the respect of a good team, and I was giving them that respect too. I expected the Eagles to win the NFC East coming into the season, but you know what? They're not a good team. You watch this team play, and it is absolutely clear. And I wonder, should Andy Reid not be fired now? What's the point? You know, he fires Juan Castillo, even though the defense has been playing better than the offense this year. Offense 30th in points per game coming into this game. And it was the same old story from the offense, sputtering, and the defense played by far their worst game of the season in their first game without Castillo. I'm sure somewhere if Castillo was watching that game, he was at least grinning a little bit to himself. I mean, I'm sure he still has a lot of friends and a lot of people he's close to on that team, but if you get fired from a position, I guess you can't help but draw a little satisfaction in seeing your replacement struggle. And certainly Todd Bowles in his first game at as Eagles defensive coordinator really, really struggled. The Eagles were awful on defense, and that was a total miss. Just, one of those where you're just cursing yourself for idiocy during the entire game. And I won't make that mistake with the Philadelphia Eagles again. I feel like I know what this team is now. The Dallas Cowboys game, Dallas 6 turnovers, Tony Romo 4 interceptions. They just could not get out of their own way. And that's been the story a lot with this team, not only this season, but over the last couple of years. And at some point, that's just who you are. And so, the Dallas offense we saw throughout a lot of the second half where they were moving up and down the field on the New York Giants, yeah, that's what I expected to see the whole game. You can't count on 6 turnovers, but you know what? The Cowboys tend to make mistakes like that. Tony Romo tends to do things like that. So, it's your own fault if you're going to back a team like that and they ended up losing. Obviously, it was an exciting game. Came right down the end. Looked like they had pulled out a miracle cover there when Des Bryant caught what appeared to be a touchdown pass with a few seconds left. But his pinky had come down out of bounds, or the second knuckle of his fingers came down out of bounds first. So it was called incomplete. The Giants ended up winning the game. My other loss of the day was absolutely disgusting. I was on Tennessee minus 3.5 over Indianapolis. Tennessee had a 4-point lead and a 1st and goal with less than 5 minutes left in the game and still did not get it done. But that happens sometimes. It's really the other 2 games. It's backing Philadelphia and Dallas that I'm so irritated at myself about. But hey, what can you do? That's the way it is. Not my first winless weekend, and unfortunately probably won't be my last. Hopefully we have some more undefeated weekends to wash it down. A couple other games that went on, certainly eye-opening results. I want to start with this game that just finished. Denver Broncos really taking care of the New Orleans Saints at home. And it's not the Denver offense I want to talk about. And no doubt the Denver offense was extremely impressive in this game. Peyton Manning is getting sharper as the year goes along. And even though, admittedly, I've been hesitant to give the Broncos credit this year, they haven't been a great team to back. A lot of people coming into the season thought they were going to be the favorites in the AFC West, maybe one of the favorites in the AFC. And through the first 6 games, they didn't look like that. Tonight, they did look like that. But the offense was razor sharp again. That's not what I want to focus on because New Orleans is so bad on defense. I mean, Tampa Bay's offense did the same thing to New Orleans' defense. It was the Denver defense that I was so impressed with. Now, Denver has been slowly progressing defensively as the years gone along. They've been slowly getting better. And tonight they played their best game. I mean, it's rare you see the Saints offense struggle like that. Drew Brees only throwing for 213 yards, 22 of 42. And Drew Brees is normally a guy, his completion percentage is around the 70% mark. So 22 of 42 for Drew Brees. Got to give most of the credit to that Denver Broncos defense. Was very, very impressed with Denver. How could you not be? And now Denver does look. And I know NFL is a week-to-week thing. If they lose next week, we'll be back saying, oh, this team, not quite as good as people thought they were going to be. But as we sit here right now at 1 a.m. on Sunday night, I don't see how you don't say that the Denver Broncos, they're the clear favorites in the AFC. We'll get to the Chargers in a second, in the AFC West, But I don't see how you say Denver isn't one of the favorites in the AFC. Now, the reason Denver is just clearing away the favorites in the AFC West, looks like they're almost going to walk away with it at this point, is because obviously 2 of the 4 teams in the AFC West, Oakland and Kansas City, are bad teams, even though Oakland still has life after beating Kansas City today on the road to improve to 3 and 4. Oakland only a game back at Denver in the loss column, a game back at Denver overall, But the San Diego Chargers, the team that some people, like me, expected coming into the season to challenge Denver in the AFC West, and got off to a decent start to the year, up 24-0 in their last game at halftime against Denver. Collapsed in the second half of that game. Denver came back to win. Chargers went on the road today against the 1-6 Cleveland Browns. Chargers defense limited Cleveland and their rookie quarterback to 7 points, and San Diego still could not win the game. Now, Norv Turner, as you know, is an offensive coach. He runs the offense. He designs the offense. Those players, Phillip Rivers and most of those I know they brought in a couple of new wide receivers this year, and they lost Vincent Jackson. But most of those players on offense have been in that same system for quite a while. There is just no excuse. And listen, the Browns coming into the season, I know they had a good defense last year, and they've played well in spots this year. And I feel like I've been high on the Browns defense. I've been saying that they're a good defense, even though they've been hovering around 20th in yards allowed for most of the season. There's absolutely no excuse for the San Diego Chargers offense in a big game like this after a collapse against Denver, coming off a bye week, to only muster 6 points against an average at best defense. And between Norv Turner and Andy Reid, what is the point in keeping these guys around? I mean, for the rest of the season. You're talking about, I guess there's the hope that either one of these teams can turn it around, but it is not looking like it. I think either one of these teams has a better chance of turning it around with a new head coach. Fire these guys, put a new guy in there, put an interim guy in there while that guy still has a chance to make the playoffs. Not a situation where you just stick him in there for the last 3 games of the year to play out the string on a losing team. Give them a chance. Both of these teams, San Diego and Philadelphia, 3 and 4. If they got it turned around, there still could be hope for the season, but there is no hope if they keep going down the path they're going down right now. Another game I want to talk about, the England game. American football in England again. Now, before the game, a lot of talk about potentially regular American football in England. You heard Robert Kraft say, and he said this before the season, but he said it more emphatically a couple of days ago, that he feels London is ready for an NFL franchise, and it will happen in the next 5 to 10 years. Now, I don't know if this game would draw people towards football or drive people away, because there's not much exciting about a 45-7 blowout, and that's what the New England Patriots handed the St. Louis Rams today. And in the end, the New England -7 line, and you struggled with that game all week. Of course, didn't end up betting on it, but went back and forth. Beginning of the week, I said, boy, it really looks like an easy New England call here, because New England, best offense in the league, number 1 in total offense, number 1 in points per game. And their main weakness is in the secondary, 28th in pass defense, but St. Louis can't pass the ball. I mean, St. Louis struggles as much as any team in the league to pass the ball, so it seemed like St. Louis was not well equipped enough to attack New England's weakness. So you're thinking New England -7 looks good, but you talk yourself out of it throughout the course of the week. The St. Louis Rams have outperformed expectations all season. They were 5-2 against the spread coming into this game, and New England has been disappointing in spots this year. They've definitely had a couple of surprises, disappointing performances. And so, you talk yourself right out of it, but then you see a result like this and you say, of course, the Patriots against the Rams, no contest, 45-7. And I'm sure the crowd at Wembley started leaving well before that game was over. So I'm sure Roger Goodell and company would have rather seen a more competitive game. And the Jacksonville Jaguars are playing in England for the next 4 years. And the Jaguars put up a decent fight today against Green Bay. They scored 15, which, hey, that's getting the offense rolling for them. Listen, I know that not a lot of teams were lining up to volunteer one home game a year. After all, there's only 8 regular season home games. To volunteer a home game a year to go play in London, which is what the Jaguars are doing. They're sacrificing a home game for the next 4 years. But between this 45-7 blowout and sending a team over there for 4 straight years that has been last in the league in offense for 2 straight years now, I mean, you can't find a much more dull team than Jacksonville Jaguars. I just don't know about the NFL's marketing strategy in Europe right now. I guess you can't predict the outcome of games, but 45-7, I'm sure not what they wanted to see. Now, New England is in first place in the AFC East. Second place in the AFC East, a team that can now start thinking about playoffs, and incredible. The biggest surprise of the year, and early in the year we were saying, well, Arizona, well, Minnesota, maybe Seattle, and those teams have all been surprises. The Miami Dolphins. I mean, you find me one person who is picking the Dolphins before the season finish anything other than last in the AFC East. I mean, this team was roundly predicted to be terrible. I was one of the many. You looked at this team, a rookie quarterback, not much in the way of the wide receiver position. Reggie Bush, their best running back, he's had an unspectacular NFL career, an average defense last year. But Miami went into New York today and spanked the Jets 30-9. They're now 4-3. The Jets now head into their bye week at 3-5. And the questions have already started. In Rex Ryan's post-game press conference, will Tim Tebow start the next game after the bye week? Rex Ryan said in his post-game press conference that he's sticking with Mark Sanchez because he feels Sanchez gives him the best chance to win. For the life of me, I do not understand at this point right now. And I've been behind the last couple of weeks, after the Houston Texans game, a lot of people were calling for it. I thought Sanchez had played well enough to keep his job. But I don't know how you justify going forward with Mark Sanchez as your quarterback right now. Just because it is crystal clear what the New York Jets are on offense. And listen, I'm not saying that Mark Sanchez can't be a capable quarterback, but the point is, Mark Sanchez, like many conventional quarterbacks, just about all quarterbacks, for him to create offense, he needs weapons that he can distribute the ball to. That's what he does. He takes a snap, he distributes the ball. Either hands it off or distributes the ball to one of his wide receivers or the tight end. And while Tim Tebow can do that, now it's arguable how well he does that, I guess. The reason Mark Sanchez is playing now is because people feel Sanchez can throw the ball, can distribute the ball to those wide receivers better than Tebow. But one thing it's indisputable that Tebow does that Sanchez cannot do, and that is create offense himself. Create offense without having to have playmakers around him, because that's what we're hearing. Those are the excuses that are rolling in for the New York Jets offense, and it was ugly today. First 6 possessions, they didn't cross the 50. Ended up scoring 9 points, but it was 27-3 at one point. They tacked on a garbage time touchdown. And we're hearing the excuses, well, Sanchez has no weapons. Then why not go to a guy who, with his running ability, could create offense himself? And we saw last year with the Denver Broncos, we saw in the playoffs against the Pittsburgh Steelers, teams get so concerned about that running ability or so unconcerned about the passing ability, depending on which way you want to look at it, that opportunities open up in the passing game. We saw Denver hit a lot of big plays last year, downfield pass plays. They didn't pass the ball a lot, but when they did pass it, they threw the ball downfield. Now, Jets aren't producing any big plays in the passing game. No explosive plays. So, I just don't understand. Rex Ryan, I mean, he's just riding this all the way down the tubes. Now, what do you have to lose at this point? 3-5. It's not like you're getting any dynamic playmakers back in the next couple of weeks. Are you just hoping that everybody's going to start just playing a little better? I don't understand it. I do believe that if Ryan does not go to Tebow this week right now, then he will not go to him the whole season, because it just makes so much sense right now. They have a bye week, so a couple of weeks to tweak the offense and make it more run heavy and give Tebow some of that read option stuff he's so good at. Hey, there's still time. I mean, they're 3-5. Time is running out. They probably can't lose any more than 2 more games all year. But we've seen teams at 3-5 make the playoffs. If they lose another game or 2, there won't be time. And so unless Rex Ryan, and I thought when Rex Ryan brought Tim Tebow in this year, because Rex Ryan, if he doesn't make the playoffs this year, he's most likely going to get fired. I mean, there's pressure on Rex Ryan. And I thought, especially since Mark Sanchez, for most of Rex Ryan's tenure, has been the weak link on that team, I did not think that Rex Ryan would go down with the ship there. And I thought that if this happened, just like it's happened right now with the New York Jets, 2-4 or some start like that, turns out it's 3-5. I thought if a start like this happened for the New York Jets, Rex Ryan would turn to Tim Tebow as sort of a last-ditch attempt to save the season and save his job. But if it does not do that here before the bye week, he will not do it this year. And we'll find out over the next couple of days. Because Rex Ryan, he said all the right things at his post-game press conference in terms of Sanchez is the right guy for the job. That's what you expect him to say right after the game. I'm sure there are going to be some closed-door conversations over the next 24 to 48 hours. And if they are going to go to Tebow, they're not going to wait 6 or 7 days to announce it. They're going to announce it early to prepare for it. You know, they'll use the full time to prepare. So if they don't announce it in the next couple of days, it's not going to happen. We'll be keeping an eye on that situation. But the Miami Dolphins with a big, big win over the New York Jets. Well, some other noteworthy results, including the Chicago Bears pulling out a last-second win over the Carolina Panthers to send Carolina to 1-6. And the Pittsburgh Steelers dominating the Washington Redskins. But, you know, really that's about it. About it. Obviously, there's a story for every game, but, hey, it's getting late. One more game tomorrow night. San Francisco at Arizona. 49ers currently installed as a 7-point favorite on BETDAQ. 37.5 the total. Niners at 5-2, first place in the NFC West. Cardinals had a nice start to the season, but they've lost 3 straight. Kevin Cobb, the man who led them that 4-0 start, no longer playing quarterback. So, again, San Francisco -7, 37.5 the total on BETDAQ. We'll be putting a full preview of that game up on the site here in a few hours. Do hope you check out the site if you're new to the site. If you have any suggestions, comments for me, we can be reached on Twitter at BETDAQNFL or email me, John, John, at BETDAQNFL.com, and I'll get back to it. Well, until a few hours from now, when you'll see me in the recorded video, or until the next time you tune in and see one of the videos or visit us on Sunday for our live stream. We do live stream right here in the BETDAQ NFL War Room every Sunday at 1. So until we see you again or you see me again, I'm John Arnette for BETDAQ NFL.